I got my cup today. Doo-doo-doo.
I love it.
Maria got her merch.
I know. I loved her reel. It cracked me up. The music, everything was perfect. It was so nice to see our faces in her house.
I now just want to like buy merch for all our faithful listeners because it just gives me life to picture our faces trotting about on people's tote bags in every corner of the world. Is that narcissistic?
It's hilarious. I don't know what it is, but it is hilarious.
I agree. It's just like when do you know what it reminds me of? You know that jingle I did the first, I think it was like the first Christmas of the pod. I say that like we've been doing it for 10 years, but you know what I mean? And we were like our heads on the elf bodies.
Yes.
It's just frozen. I feel like it's that kind of comic value. These frozen faces, like caricatures, just like la 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 la.
It's hilarious, honestly. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch that jingle because that thing was fucking hilarious too.
Right? I'll make another one this Christmas. Every year they release a new jingle with a different, they change the cartoon.
Well, good.
I'll do it for us every year. Also, I have to say, it was very mean of you to put that ceramic goat at the top of your bookshelf where I would see it. I nearly lost it at the very start. And Melissa came right on, and I just see this ceramic goat, which I have to tell you, in my head, I thought if you won revision race, I was literally wanting to send you a ceramic goat. So what the fuck?
That's a dog, Melanie.
What kind of it's smoky. It looks like a goat from here because
Like a goat. How does that look like a goat?
the beard. You know how billy goats have a beard and the ears look like horns from here.
Okay, I'll give it to you. But that's a dog. I don't know what kind of goats you have in Australia, but that is a dog.
Well, look at the framed one down the bottom. It looks the same from here.
Both of those were gifts from people in my family, and so they.
I love them already, your family. I just love that they're giving you those gifts while ceramic goat is still up on the cards as a potential.
Actually, yes, please. I will.
I'll have, if I find one, I'll have to find it in the States because I feel like to ship like a concrete goat from Australia.
Now I have to win our revisions race because I need a ceramic goat.
Do. I need to stick a crown on it and it'll be your official goat queen status.
I need like a 6 foot tall one so I can just put it right there.
Like
just...
Joey in Friends. I'll bring it in on wheels. If I was your millionaire friend, I would make that happen. I'd bring like a fleet. I'd just surprise you one day with like 10 goats. This is what I would do with my millions of dollars.
Yeah, you would. You would.
I'd just make a fleet of them rock up one day outside your house.
And I would proudly display those goats. I really would. I would.
But so, Melissa, what a freaking legend.
I know. Honestly, I mean, we both knew going into this episode we were going to have a blast. Like
Yeah.
we've been following Melissa for a long time and she just has such a great presence about her. But did I think we'd go in and like have a therapy session as well? Maybe not, but I am so glad we did. Like high school Angela and Melanie have just been, we were cradled, we were rocked, we were, nuzzled. I feel like we needed this.
We were nuzzled and we needed it. Like I'll never, for me it was like really long, like that disorienting feeling of like, and I did go, the pressure to go straight out of high school and to find like your calling immediately when all they've been teaching you is Shakespeare and algebra. You know, like we had one careers class and it was a joke. Everybody laughed through it. We never actually did anything. And it did not prepare me for like tax returns. It did not prepare me for like getting a job or just like being out of school in general. I was so underprepared for, you know? And I remember just like signing up my first year out of high school. I actually did tourism and hospitality for a year because I was just like, maybe I could find a, like, I don't know. I think I'd just seen a movie with like these two maids on an island. And when they weren't working, they'd like go and surf with the boys and like, and I was like, well, that sounds all right. I was like, I'll clean hotel rooms on an island and like meet cute boys. And yeah, I think when I failed those subjects, because they put us in, the whole class failed it that year in uni because
Really?
they put us with the business students for accounting, and everyone who did it was like me. They were like, tra la la, let's do tourism. Sounds fun. So the whole class failed. So they changed it the next year. But when I failed it, I was that subject. I was like, huh, this doesn't
Done.
seem to be opening the doors I want, you know? And it was
Yeah.
just like such a journey over the years trying to find yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and where you fit in. And sometimes and oftentimes it's not this like cookie cutout that we're kind of taught in high school. It's really a framework that someone else made, and it was never meant to fit every person. It can't. It
No,
can't. People are
no.
so varied and so different. And I burnt myself out 100 times doing jobs that crushed the life out of me until I realized, hey, like you are meant to be doing something creative and fight for that right to do it, you know. And for my husband it was like almost an opposite journey of he grew up highly academic, both his parents like double doctorates and everything, and he was failing because he wasn't going to class and handing in stuff. And
Oh,
yeah, because we met
wow.
at college after when we were both doing teaching, and I was like, you're a genius, why are you failing this? Like he's doing his friends assignments and they're graduating, and he's just like in his room just, you know, doing what college boys do. No, but
Uh,
like I remember for him it was the opposite of like, you know, this path was laid out at his feet to go do teaching, to go work in, you know, the areas that they were in. And I just was like, because I had already graduated and I was like, fuck this shit, I don't want to do teaching. It kills me. Like it just, for my wide personality, it was not working out for me. You really need to be like almost feel like you're called to do that, like that sets you on fire the way writing does for me. You can see
yeah.
with her that it does. With Melissa, I really got that vibe. I was like, this sets your soul on fire the way writing does for me, you know. And for my husband, he wound up in trucking, which he's obsessed with. And so
Love.
kind of, when I say like we kind of like living unconventionally, people can't understand that somebody would come from a hyper educated background and choose to go into trucks. You know, it always blows people's mind. And I've had cousins be like, so what's next for you, to him? And he's like, no, like I've chosen this. I left that path of what people were telling me to do. And it's the same for me. And yeah, it, you know what
No,
I'm talking about. There's a lot of pressure to like go for a dream that was somebody else's to start with, you know?
yeah, that's exactly it. It's like what family expectations are, you know,
Yeah.
so versus really at the heart of it is what you want. And I think even Melissa said it's like it's block out all the noise. It's about you and it's the truth. And I feel like for me, I didn't even find writing until later on in life. And it was the thing that gave me life. You know, it was like the thing I didn't know I was searching for. And then once I found it, I was like, this
Yeah.
is what I was supposed to be doing, you know?
That right there, that inhale you did, like I can breathe, you know, like
Yeah.
I found that thing that like is gonna give that extra level of meaning to my life, you know, and fill it up with things that feel like they're for me, like we were talking about, like my community that want to find me, that think the goat on my bookshelf is God's gift to mankind, you know, because I'm
Yeah.
sure we both grew up with kinds of people who'd be like, what's that on your bookshelf, like why do you have a goat there, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm sure we both had people like that. And it's like, and when you're younger and you don't understand that your souls are misaligned with someone like that, you're like, oh yeah. And then you take your fucking goat down, your gorgeous little goat. You take it down because you're trying to fit in and you don't want to like look like a loser to these people that you're trying to fit in with at school. And then you can't catch up with them, and you shouldn't try, but you try, and you never do, you know? And if you claim yourself as yourself, which is what I learned to do later in life, which is why I'm all about the 30s, because I feel like my 30s is when I just like, I'm gonna do what I want. Fuck everyone.
Fuck them all. Fuck them all.
Yeah.
No, it's true. I just saw a TikTok about this, and it was some reality star that she was saying like basically she was like, I hate when people post pictures of their kids, like nobody cares about your kids. And then this other lady like stitched it and was like she was like, last year I was in this deep depression, and so all I was doing was, you know, those little jewel things that you,
Yes.
those little paintings that you put jewels on. So she was like, so all that year I was just putting these jewel things together and I would post it. And my mom, my sister, my family, you would have sworn it was the best jewel painting in the world, you know, because they were like, oh, let me have it. You know, they were showing, you know, and she was like, what I'm realizing is the people that are saying, like, ew, don't post that aren't your people, like you said. And so for her, she was just saying, like, I know it was a ridiculous, just little thing I was doing, but my people found me and they like held me up as I was going through this time and like, you know, cheered for me while I was just, while I was bedazzling.
Right, you almost made me cry. That's so beautiful. And that's like, I know a friend of mine was like, oh, you know, they don't want to put the baby spam or whatever, that people like kind-hearted people who know what the anti-goat people are like, they don't want to like trigger the hate, and they're like, oh, I won't spam. But people like us, like, no, show me what you love. Whatever it is, show me your babies, show me your trip, show me your goats. I want to see it because I want to see what you love. I don't want to see a fabricated, you know, modernized, airbrushed version of you. Nobody
Yeah.
actually resonates with that, even, you know, nobody finds themselves in that. And it's
Yeah.
scary because when you bear those true parts of yourself and people shut it down, it hurts. But it's
Mm-hmm.
worth it because, like you said, you find those people who just like celebrate the gemstone artwork because maybe they were doing it too, and they're like, your alignment is so epic, it looks you know, like whatever it is, like
Yeah.
people who are doing it. Like my husband has like a proper following starting with his trucks. They post photos of polishing their trucks and how they're polishing it, and like he has more interaction on his account than most accounts I follow because they're just doing what he's having like companies reach out to him and send him shit. And I'm just like, this is it, like doing what you love and finding
Yeah.
people who celebrate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious and amazing, and he deserves it because he's
Yes.
amazing. But
Yeah.
no, I love it. And we were also talking about like social media, and I've just been feeling that more and more
Yeah.
of, you know, not like, because I used to work hard on posting pretty pictures, but really that's not I'm not that creative. I'm not, I like, it was fun and I could do it, but it took a lot and it was
Yes.
hard, you know.
No, I
But
know what you're saying. You are creative, but the level of it's actually because you're a perfectionist and you put that into your writing. And so when you are put with this, let me do a spread, you're not going to just do this basic bitch spread. You're going to make it look legit. And that can take hours. It
yeah,
can take hours.
yeah, and that's not the thing that's feeding my soul, you know. And I'd rather just do a silly video or post a picture of a friend's book and just be authentic. And I'm finding that I'd rather have, I could care less about the amount of followers. I just want to have the community. And I've just, you know, been reeling it in. And I think we both have been feeling like it's not so much about like exploding. It's just about finding the right fit and
Yeah.
the right people. And we found it. Like even with this podcast, the amount of shit talking that's been happening, but it's like it's the best sort of shit talking. And we're building this little community and it's been so fun.
And that's it right there. It's honestly like been on my mind so much lately because at one point I was really pushing with the reels and I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of work if you're putting the pressure to like create every day.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like, ultimately I thought about it and I was like, yes, it can make a difference. But like if I am posting funny little reels about, I don't know, whatever, goofy cheering my friends on and whatever, ultimately, are those reels gonna like sell books long term? Do you know what I mean? And yes, in a roundabout way, because again, community, but we've done it. I realized the other day, like I've done it. I did what I set out to do with social media, which was find a meaningful community, a sustainable community that I enjoy investing in. And it's just been something lately that's just sunk in to my brain. And I just couldn't, before I just kept going at 100, like this is like social media is crucial and I have to like dial it up. I have to make sure that it's always getting more likes, building constantly. Whereas now I'm just like, and every time the algorithm changes, you're back to scratch. And
Yeah.
and then that would devastate me when I was working on it hard. But
Yeah.
what I'm finding now is that if I just kind of post with inspiration, whatever it is, like, in the moment when you're like, oh, I'll just screenshot that tweet. Oh, I had an idea for a reel. That's so cool. I'll do that. Oh, here's a snippet from the podcast, whatever it is. And hey, it's maybe not getting the likes it was when it was the reels, but who were those people liking all my reels anyway? Not people who are going to buy my books.
That's true though. That is very, very true. Yeah.
So I'm definitely like tapering it back now and just trying to hold myself accountable that social media is bringing me joy and that I'm not just chasing some phantom idea of like, like if you actually sit down and ask yourself, what do I want? What is it? Is there a number? Is it 100,000 followers?
Right.
Is it like, what is the number? Is there a number? And I realized there's not for me. There's not some number. I just want to be in this community doing what doing what I love, hopefully making like a bit of income from it one day and building other people up as they do it. And in a way, I'm already doing that in a small way. And I feel like the podcast as well. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's ticked a lot of what I would have had to inject into social media. I'm like, well, we're doing this every week. And that is like 100 reels can't compete with this because this is a slow building giant. If that makes sense. It's like it's very slow to get the ball rolling, but we've already seen that it's like garnering that community that we actually want. So yeah.
That's it right there. The community you actually want, and it's people that actually support you and that and hold you and carry you and that you want to support as well. And they're not just like faceless strangers, they're actual people that are listening and commenting and checking in with us. And it's true, the podcast has given us what we were needing, and it's so fun every time, like after we click off with a guest, every time you and I are in the DMs with each other like, oh my gosh, we love them so much. And so it's been just, it feeds your soul because every time we have someone on, you're learning a new lesson and building a new bond. So
yeah, and it was like that with Melissa today. Like we've been interacting online. She's the perfect example. We've been following each other for years, cheering from the sidelines. We had her on, and I felt like it was an old friend, not a new friend. Like we were just sat there having coffee, having a yarn about what we all love most and this journey, and her book just sounds so important, actually. And I'm so pleased to have a place to scream about these friends, these hardworking friends who are doing this thing, who are chasing these big, scary dreams in spite of everything and bringing the joy. trying to make the world a bit of a brighter place. And I'm excited to share this one with everyone. And I'm excited to beat your ass in revision
I
race.
was waiting for that, and you know what? It's not gonna happen. I feel like I'm gonna be having the golden goat, and although the competition's a little different because it's not like first to the finish line necessarily. It's like, let's all just get our goals done by the end of September.
Yeah.
However, I feel like if one of us does finish first, that is the true winner, but we're all winners.
One of us will finish first, listen, you. And I have to say, we're going to have to watch out because Lissa is going to close in hot. Lissa Mia Smith, her competitive spirit has come through the woodworks, and I am high key living for it. And also Kelly and Ophelia.
Yeah.
So sassy, you two. I see what's happening here. And I'm just living for it. I'm living for all of us just sassing each other. And it seriously is just that encouragement I need to get real work done.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Like last night I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just watch my show. And then I was like, no, I cannot let these bitches get ahead. I cannot. I know everybody's like very close, and
So
I am
close.
not, like we are all here, and I am not having it. So I was like, you know what? The K drama can wait. I am getting this chapter in.
No, you just watch your show, Angela. Watch your show. It's calling you. It's calling you, and you should watch it. You should watch it.
It has been calling me, but nope. I guess we should.
Oh shit, we haven't read her bio. So Melissa, she is just gloriousness in a human, and we can't wait to share this episode with you. So a little bit about Melissa from her website. She received her BA from SUNY Cortland and was blessed to land her first teaching job at just 22 years old. While teaching full-time, she earned a Master's of Fine Arts in Writing from Manhattanville College, and a Master's in Communication Arts from the College of New Rochelle. She grew up in room 204, teaching classics like The Catcher in the Rye, Of Mice and Men, The Crucible, and Julius Caesar. But what always mattered most to her was giving her students the tools to compete on a higher level and sharing her stories of growing up, letting go, and following her heart. It is her intention to share these stories with everyone in hopes to motivate you to get out of your own way and let go of whatever is holding you back. Melissa says we're all on the same road. If you're here, congratulations. Now put your blinker on, get in the left lane, and get ready to wave your competition as you drive by. There is much to learn beyond the bell. Thanks for stopping by. That's cute.
I love that. And her book, Beyond the Bell, sounds absolutely important. You know what I mean? It's a necessary book, and I cannot wait for all of our readers to listen to what she had to say, because she is just a magnificent human being.
I'm so excited for it to come out into the world. And yeah, let's get Melissa on.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hi!
I feel like you guys are my old friends.
Aw!
No, honestly, like this whole like week leading up to this, I've been feeling so just relaxed and like, this is just gonna be a fun time, just chatting.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to be with you guys.
Well,
thank you guys for squeezing me in. I know it's like a crazy schedule and back to school and all the things. So thank you.
All the things. How's back to school for you?
Oh, it's great. Really relaxing,
Sure.
Just great. It's going great. Everything's going to be great.
It's like, how many times can you squeeze in great to make you feel like it was?
Yeah, I feel like if we just keep saying that, we'll all believe it at some point.
Yes. Well, we're glad you could make it, and we're delighted to have you on, because I can't even remember when I exactly started following you, but I feel like it's been a long time, like years for sure.
Yeah, it's been years, and it's definitely been a journey, and I can't believe I got to this point, but it happens, right? It happens.
You are here, and we're excited. Sorry, my phone was almost falling over, but I'm excited to have you on and just kind of talk about your journey, because like Melanie said, like we have all been following each other for so long, and so to see that your book baby is about to come into the world and it's happening. So huge congratulations.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. I know you've been working your ass off. Let's get into like how it all started for you. Was becoming an author always something you wanted to do?
You know, I think like most people that finally get a book out into the world, I think writing is just kind of who you are and something that you've always kind of gravitated towards, whether it was journaling or reading. So I think this was always in me. I did my master's in creative writing. I'm an English teacher. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that this book was in me. And I think if you would have told me even 5 years ago that this was the book I was going to put out into the world, I would have said you're crazy. But I think I always did, yeah, have this passion to put something out, it's like to get my words out into the world. There was always something kind of pulling at my heartstrings that said, you have to focus on this at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Wow, that is cool. Now, was it like, were you wanting to be like a fiction writer, before this, or just?
I just feel like, when I did my master's, they gave me this like, you're gonna write this book, and I just because I teach English, I really naturally just went into fiction for young adults. I teach high school, so I started to write this book, and I created characters based on young adults, kids that I knew, and I started to craft this piece, but it never really fit. It really, when you're forcing a story or you're forcing a character arc or you're trying really hard to make the conflict more exciting, and I just felt like it was bogging me down. So I realized in that project that at that point that wasn't the project for me, and I had to just kind of like put that on the back burner, which was hard because I felt like I was abandoning these characters, but it just wasn't right. It wasn't a right fit for me.
Mm, I love that, honestly, because I think we've had Melanie and I've talked about this with previous guests, maybe. I don't remember when or how, but like sometimes writer block hits so hard, and maybe it's because you aren't really necessarily ready for that book at that moment. And it's kind of like your subconscious being like, no, we have other things in mind. And so sometimes shelving, at least for a little bit, is the right thing to do. And now here you are with a book coming out, I think next week, right?
Yeah, September 6th is launch day, and it's crazy. It's just such an unbelievable feeling. There's so many emotions, like excitement, but also people are going to read this book, right? It's just such a twist of emotions, and when you work really hard for something, it's almost like a relief, but also just well, what comes next type of feeling too, because this is my first go. So there's just so much going on. So much.
I think that's so natural to feel that with how mysterious and wild publishing is, because you just don't know. That's the thing. Like, you've done all the work you can. And I think at this point, it's like, off she goes. And as
Exactly.
writers, I feel like that part is scary for us because we're so used to having it on our screen, still can change it, still can.
Yeah. And I think it's such an intimate relationship when you're writing your book. When you're writing this book, it's you and the computer, and you're in this little bubble. And then all of a sudden, although the goal is to get the book out of the computer,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, who took my book? It
Yeah.
was hard to hit submit when I had that final draft, to be completely honest with you. It felt like I took a piece of me and threw it out into the world. And I think most writers, I would imagine, feel that way.
Oh, oh my gosh. Yeah. My heart like did a little extra thump at just the thought. Like, you do, like, you go through years sometimes of revisions and holding it so close and giving it to, certain trusted people, but this is the next step, and it's the step all authors are going towards, but actually getting there sounds a lot scarier than
Yeah, it's like this theory, I think, as a writer that we have. And then all of a sudden, when it's there, it really changes things in a great way, but also in a way that's completely unexpected.
Totally.
yeah.
I think that all the great things, though, that's what's because I feel like with my middle grade book that came out, I was like so naive. I'm going to be a lot more nervous later. Like I was kind of just like, because it was my first book, it got picked up. I was like, tra la la la, this is how it happens. Hashtag not. But like,
Right.
I was
It's
a bit,
illusion.
yeah, but one of the wonderful things that I'll always cherish is like, there's going to be little things from your readers that surprise you, little things that resonate with them that are going to come up. And those are the moments that are just going to stay with you and blow you away. So as scary as it is, I think that that is what we're all kind of working towards, that kind of sense of community, that what we saw in books, like I see myself in that, that shiver you get where you're like, I do that too. And so I'm so excited for that part to come for you. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
So Beyond the Bell, it's 12 lessons for navigating your life after high school. Again, it's nonfiction. It is completely based on my own experiences and really the experiences that I've had by watching so many teenagers go through my classroom for the last 20 years. And I found myself honestly telling the same stories over and over, year after year, to my high school seniors about picking a major, going to college, this, the scary stuff that happens when you're going for your first job, relationships that you thought were the one that didn't end up that way, right? All the things that are in that really unpredictable spot in life when you are leaving the safety of your high school and you are figuring out those next steps. So that's what the premise of the book is. And like I said, it's a book I don't know that I could have even written 5 years ago, because I just didn't know that this is what my readers, I feel like this is what my readers needed from me. I feel like this is a gift, from me to my students. And I wrote it really just like I was talking to my students in my classroom. And anytime that I was, almost pulling back from what I wanted to tell them, or pulling, because we as writers, I think, "Ooh, what are people going to think if we say this, or is this going to come off okay?" I really, I like to say that I wrote it raw, that I just let all that go away and thought, what does a teenager really need from someone they trust? And I hope that that's what I accomplished in the book, so that they close this thing feeling not so alone, and feeling that no matter what comes their way, they can tackle their biggest goals.
Oh my gosh. I honestly, we all needed this. We needed
Yeah.
this book. You know what I like?
Mm.
You learn math and you learn all these things, but not the practical things, which is the after and life and like the real world that comes. And so this, yes, I plan on purchasing this book for a few family members, because I
You
actually,
know,
I have a high schooler, I have a niece getting ready to graduate. So it's like something that is so necessary. And I know I've followed a previous student of yours,
yeah,
Sammy, for a long time. And so
yeah,
so like the proof is in the pudding. You have students that love you and adore you. And so, there, that right there is like the stamp of approval, right? Anytime a previous student is still rooting for a teacher, I think that's pretty good.
Thank you for saying that. I really, that is why I think teachers go into teaching. And I think why writers write. It's to serve. Really, at the end of the day, it's to serve. So my book actually begins with those words. I wish someone did this for me when I was in high school. And those were the first words I wrote. And they didn't change, because that is really, I think you're right. I think we all needed this, like, calm down. You're gonna survive. And that's what I hope, I hope that the book accomplishes.
Yes, I'm just feeling all the feels right now, because it's so that, and I can't agree more. Like growing up in, like, basically I just had my church and my school environment, and it's so insular. And then they're like, well, we've kept you protected and we didn't want you to go to clubs and concerts, but goodbye now. Go find
Right.
a job, go work out all the most important details of your life, and good luck. None of us know, but good luck. And yeah, it's like there is such a need for information like that, because I will never forget the feeling and the years it took me to find myself and to find those nuggets of wisdom, gleaning it here and there, because it really is just child to adult overnight. And you know,
That's
you
right.
find yourself in situations you have no idea how to handle, especially if
Right.
you grew up in an insular environment. So I'm so excited for this book to come out, and I'm sure it's going to be just what a lot of young adults need, you know?
Thank you. I hope so. I mean, I think that I think it really every word in the book came because of my students. So I really use them as fuel. You know, writing is again, it's such a process. And I know you guys talk a lot about, you know, getting the motivation to get that word count in. And it can be really hard and it's easy to quit, right? I think that's why so many people don't see their books on the shelves because it's easy to quit. And attaching the book to people that I wouldn't let down, which is of course of my students and my own children, that's kind of the motivation for getting this thing out there.
Yes, I love that. Honestly, attaching the motivation, I love that because it's true. It's you're like, oh, it's not just you. Because if it was just about you, it would be so easy. 100%. There's so much more we could be doing, but when you do attach that motivation, it's beyond you at that point. And for you, it's the students and the kids that need this. And man, that's valuable. I
Yeah.
love
And it
that.
sounds to me like you've kind of been writing it in your heart all these years from, and your mind from what you're saying. Like, can just picture these words and these phrases, like you said, that you've repeated over and over and over, and like actually consolidating into a book. I'm sure it was harder than you like envisioned going in, but it was there. You were polishing it over the years, these core ideas. And I think that's something with with a lot of us. I'd hope that the stories we're working on, it's the ones they're just like, they're in there and they keep ruminating around and around and around, and you just have to get it out.
Yeah, it was a funny thing. I started the book. I was, you know, I have three sons, and I started writing the book, which is insanity. But one night, one of my middle son couldn't sleep, so I was, you know, doing the mom thing, and I was lying in bed with him, and go to sleep, and I just started typing. Honestly, the first chapter of my book on my iPhone, and that is the first chapter that you will read. It just, like you said, it didn't feel like work. It felt like I had been writing this book all along. It was just a question of putting it out into the world and outlining it. I mean, outlining was just I almost knew what the chapters were going to be. It was just a very strange process for me because I had my other experiences with even writing short stories and poetry have always been um more difficult. It didn't come the way this book came to me. And I think when the project is right and it meets you at the right time, I think there is some magic in that project, and it makes sense why the other things, you know, because we all have the huge journals and binders and files, right? We all have those things. It starts to make sense why those things maybe didn't work, but without those things, I don't know that I could have written this book.
Mm.
So it's none of it's no effort in this writing world is wasted. I really firmly believe that. And I feel like I'm living proof of that because I've been writing forever.
Yeah.
What has your journey to publication been like for you? How did that
So
come to be?
about yeah, so about 3 years ago, it was 2019, and I had a group of kids that were just amazing. They were so motivating. I found myself continuing to give them motivational speeches, and in that, I said, man, you know, I really talk the talk here. But I felt like I really needed to walk the walk. And I knew this dream of mine was kind of in my heart. So I sat down and I did this. And then I entered the land of query and literary age and and all of those things. So I wrote the book first, which I learned through I went to a writers conference, writers market conference in New York City. And I learned at that conference, I was there to pitch my book to literary agents. And I learned that in a nonfiction world, it's really important to have an audience, of course. And also, I learned that there is this other document called the nonfiction proposal that I really didn't know much about because, again, this was not my genre. I just did
Mm.
it. So that was an interesting part of the journey because I realized that I wrote the book, but I didn't write the thing that was going to sell the book. So after that conference, and I suggest anyone that wants to go this route, these conferences are just you'll get so much in a 2-day conference that, really will shift, I think, the direction of, your path. I came home, I had all the outlining notes that I learned, and I sat and I did the 35-40 page nonfiction proposal. Then I started to send that out. And in sending that out, I realized that my query needed work, right? So it was a process of getting all those documents the way they needed to be for the genre that you're in, making sure page count was correct. There's all these things, and I know that you guys know that you have to keep up with and keep checking that as the market changes and as publishing changes. You have to know that as you go along, because as you're taking 3 years or 2 years to write a book, the market is doing a lot of things while you're working. So after that process, I had a couple of bites from literary agents. So, send me your full manuscript, which was so thrilling. And again, what I needed to keep going, even though it wasn't, I didn't get the deal that way. I wound up getting the deal through my social media, which is such a crazy thing, but this is the publishing world. You just don't know. Somebody that I had known for over a decade reached out to me and said, I know a lot of people in publishing. I had no idea that you were working to publish a book. And I said, yeah, it's has always been something that I wanted to do. And I started my Instagram to kind of get this path going. And she's like, why don't you send me your materials and I'm happy to share. And she did. And within, a month, I think I was asked to send more. And about a month later, I was offered a book deal, and here I am. But it was in a very unexpected way. And I'm publishing with a smaller publisher, G&D Media. And it's been the best experience. I feel like it was the right publisher for my book and for me, because they are so kind. And that's the other piece of this journey, finding the right fit for your project and making sure someone loves it like you do.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't even know that was your journey. It makes me even more excited, to be honest with you.
It's crazy. Like I did all the things, and then I just, this connection just kind of, I think things show up when they're supposed to. I really do. And I think that this was the path for me.
Wow.
I love it. I got chills because I just love it so much.
I love that they actually, that, like they say, the things that are meant to will find you. They literally found you. And it's kind of like a testament as well to like how powerful social media can be if you use it and don't let it use you. It's something like I'm trying to find the balance with lately, where I enjoy the social media and use it what it's there for, which is like connectivity, connecting to each other, finding these people, having your platform there for when they're looking, and it's so incredible to hear a story like that, where they were just like, hey, we want you, because those are your people and they found you, and it's great.
Yeah, I love what you said, not letting social media use you, because that is, with this world of being an author, there is a lot of pressure to put yourself out there, to be consistent. And it's a full-time job, right? To do all of this. And you're right, you need to do it with purpose and intention. And I'm navigating that as well, for sure.
It's really something I've been paying attention to this year specifically. Like, is it bringing me joy in my interactions? Because realistically, I'm not an influencer with 1 million followers. It's not my full-time job. And I'm really paying attention at the moment. Is my writing suffering from my being on there, or is it being elevated? And I'll happily spend hours on it if it's for connectivity, if it's for my network, if it's for my writing. But if I find myself now like hate scrolling, like fucking just gotta get these likes out, just nobody liked my last post, like if I find myself feeling any of that, I just turn it off. And it's so simple but so powerful. I just remind myself, I can turn this off. I don't need to be here today. It's not filling my cup, it's emptying my cup. And I saw this reel the other day, and it was like, people think that social media is a dopamine hit. Maybe it was at the start. Maybe the first few things gave you that dopamine, but it's like a drug. Afterwards, you're chasing that dopamine hit all the time. And it's like, so I'm just paying attention to that. I'm not going to be the rat in the lab chasing the likes. And it might mean that my posts don't do as well. But I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed when something matters, when you have something to post, it's like you said, it's like that almost like divine timing. It happens. You find the right people. It falls into place because you're there. You have that presence. You do have content. And it's not like I forget about people. I've got friends who like post twice a year. I don't forget about them just because they post less. So I'm just reminding myself these things going forward. I don't need to make 5 reels every day because that's not my job. My job is a writer. And if that takes over, how can I be investing as much time into my work? So yeah, really passionate about that at the moment. Also my coffee here, sorry.
No, but that's a great reminder because I have had those moments too where I'm like, oh, well, that's great. I did so well on social media, but did I edit the chapter the way I think I did? Did I do the best I could? Well, and you have to assess that space often because you can get sucked in. And that's great. I think it's a great conversation to have in especially in the writing world, because let's face it, we're on our laptops. It's a click away to get distracted.
Exactly.
Right? And when you start to convince yourself that, but I'm doing this for my writing, it's like I've done that before and I'm like, did I really do that for my writing or am I just avoiding my writing?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Or like if you edit one line, you're like, oh, you know what? I deserve a break. And then you're gone. You are on social media for an hour. You have lost everything. But you did one word or one sentence. You're like, I did my due today. It is real.
It's so real. To be fair, I feel like you totally get days like that and it's fine. What I'm paying attention to is when those days become my habit. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference
Yeah.
to having the days where you're just like, tra-la-la, was just like lost in reels all day and like fell down a rabbit hole looking at these comments. But like, yeah, the repetition is what I'm paying attention to now. But back to you and your book. Sorry, I diverge. Can you tell us?
I have to say, sorry, Melanie, I cut you off, but just congratulations on that because
Yes.
like it just really hit me. That is fucking amazing. So
Yes.
congratulations on everything. You deserve it. I'm so happy for you. Sorry, Melanie, go ahead.
No, why? That was the segue of life. Why would I ever want that to not be that? I just agree completely. My heart is doing a little happy dance for you. And my heart's doing a happy little dance, for the students that are coming through and who are going to have something like that, because it's so disorienting leaving high school and like having something that you can like it should just really be part of the curriculum. Like I think this all the time. Why did we do chemical equations and algebra and nobody taught me how to write a fucking resume? Like, why did this happen to me? So
we needed you.
It happened to all of us. And I think that in this book, it's really about the things you needed to hear, the confidence builder you needed. I mean, my goodness, there is such insecurity in high school. I mean, man, it's so crazy. And at the end of the day, the book really is about like the most important person, the most important thing you need to listen to is yourself, because nobody cares. You're not that important. At the end of the day, the people around you need to silence and you need to figure out your path. And I just think it's valuable advice for all of us to remember.
100%. I'm so sorry. My dogs are going off in the background.
They're enjoying.
Okay.
Yeah. What has been the most rewarding part of this journey for you?
For me, it's been letting my students know that I did it. And hopefully, honestly, this whole project and it's dedicated to my students. My dedication page says, for my students, let this book be the proof. Because I felt like you guys, you want to be doctors and lawyers and singers and dancers, and who the hell is going to tell you no? Yourself. That's it. You can do whatever you want. And by writing this book, the most rewarding thing was honestly typing that dedication, because I felt like no longer can you look at me like another talking head or another adult telling me what to do, chase your dreams, blah, blah, blah. Because I did it, and had 3 kids at home, and I taught full time, and my husband is a fire captain and I'm doing all the things. And if I can do it, you sure as hell can do it too. So for me, it was just holding this book in my hand and being like, hey guys, do your work.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so inspirational. And I just
You
keep
know,
chills listening to you.
I think that we're all, and I think, listen, I've never left high school. I've been teaching and doing this for 20 years, but I think we all remember our high school selves when we tap into it, and we all identify with this stuff. The highs, the lows, all the things. So I do think while this book is primarily for the high school senior, the college graduate, the college freshman, honestly, like my mother just read it and she was like, I know you're my daughter, but I needed that. So it's one of those life books, I think, because we all know, we all have they're human feelings.
And I feel like that what you just said before, like that you did it, you lived it. I feel like especially teenagers, they're smart. They're not gonna like, I remember watching that. I remember watching the adults who told me to do things and were not doing it themselves. And you can smell the BS a mile off, and then you
Oh my
just,
gosh, yes.
yeah, like, so I think that is so powerful, just doing it and showing them and being like, yeah, you can do what you want. You can go for your dream.
Yeah. Well, Angela, you have teenagers in your life. Do you get away with anything?
No, not a damn thing.
I have 100 of them every day. You can't, they will call you out.
They are terrifying, to be honest with you. So yeah, you did it, and now you get to tell them, look, because they are ready at any time to argue or to come after you. So yeah, bless you for even diving into being a teacher, because I have two, and that's enough.
Yes. And I was a teacher in a past life. Well, I say that I graduated as a teacher, but I have a special respect for people who actually went into it and didn't, just because it's hard.
Yeah.
What you guys do is so hard, and it wasn't for me, and nobody pays you anywhere near enough for what you do.
Yeah.
So thank you for trying to heal society.
I'm trying.
That's what it is, isn't it? Like the teachers are kind of like, the point of, children coming from whatever homes and,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know what you're going to get on any given day or what they're coming to you with. I mean, it's interesting because I think being a teacher, I felt like there was something I wanted to say to kids beyond the 25 that were in front of me in a given space. And I think that's just the heart of a writer. You feel like you want to spread a message or spread a story so that you can touch people in whatever way. So I think, yeah, I think it's in most people that write, for sure.
I'm just so happy with this, just hearing all of this. I want to ask this question because I see our time is already like dwindling a little bit. But looking back at all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this whole journey?
Well, first of all, I think, every single person that sits down to do this or do anything really has to, and this is actually the first chapter of my book, has to welcome the fear that comes along with going for your dream or going for anything really. I think a lot of times most of us avoid fear, like we fight or flight. And what I've learned is when fear comes up, I think it's important to welcome it and say, I see you. And I know that on the other side of this is going to be something important and big progress. So I think I would tell my younger self, instead of being paralyzed by that fear and waiting so long to go for it or do the thing or step up or, whatever it is, I think I would have told my younger self to just push forward and just trust your gut and lead in that way.
That's so powerful. And honestly, that's the thing, like all the scariest things you do in life, especially when you're that age, it seems so intense to like kiss the boy or the girl,
Yeah.
whatever, or like, like it seems like those choices can be like life altering, but really it's all just the lessons you learn from the most. It's like, let them turn you down. Tell that person you like them, let them reject you. Try for that job, let yourself be rejected, because it's not fine, it's not final, those rejections. And like once you learn that, it's so powerful, and you do realize you can kind of go for anything, and it might not be that, but it kind of puts you on the trajectory for, I think, what you're meant to achieve and what you're meant to find.
Yeah, and for when you're going for it, I think when you're trying something that is challenging, like most things, I think for me, and I say this a lot often in my classroom, and it's in my book, well, what does it look like if you don't?
Yeah.
To me, that was worse. To me, it was worse not trying, because then I'm like, if I get to the end of my life and I'm like, well, I had that great husband and that great job and I had those kids, but man, I never wrote that book, ooh, that was a mess. I think that worry and fear for me was worse than the failure, the rejection, and all the stumbles along the way and the challenges that are just, I mean, let's face it, right? We all have a lot of losses. We think people are winning the game in the fourth quarter, but there were 3 quarters before that were pretty ugly.
Yes. Wow. Honestly, I love that so much. It's literally, I say this to my husband all the time. The way I'm choosing to live my life is terrifying to me, but the only thing more frightening to me is not.
That's right.
That terrifies me so much more, not living the way I am. And it's not by the kind of standard thing that was set out for me. And like, yeah, sometimes some days you feel it. But
Yeah.
what I felt before I set out on that path of my own was, like you said, so much more. Like, you don't want to get to the end of your life and be like, safe. Great, you're safe and dead. Like, but you didn't do any of those things you dreamed about. And like, I swore to myself I wouldn't be filled with regret, that I would do the thing. And it sounds to me like that's what your book is about. And I'm just so freaking excited.
No, it's special.
It is.
Okay, so what advice would you give to yourself as a high schooler back in the, back in the day when we were all young pups? What would you tell yourself as
Oh my gosh.
high school Melissa?
I think I wish I knew then that the cool kids weren't cool, that the popular people really didn't have it all together, and that everybody was doing their own walk, that was insecure and that was unsure, and that I really didn't need to try so hard to fit in or be what was the expected role, that I could have just been more relaxed with the people who loved me, that I loved, and didn't have to try so hard. High school is a place where we all just try so hard. And if we
Yeah.
would stop and just be who our authentic selves, we would all get to a great place a lot sooner.
Mm.
Yes, I feel like this is therapy for high school Angela. Like,
I know. $20 copay, girls.
This is it right here. I also wish I knew this is probably a bit mean, but I wish I knew the expression back in high school, peaked in high school, about like a certain type of like mentality, and just not wanting to be like those people, just being my dorky old self, and how splendid that is, and how that attracts the actually cool people into your life,
And the people you want to be around. I mean, these are my people, and I think it takes time to be confident and comfortable with that.
yeah.
that's
And in
it.
fact, looking back, I feel sorry now for the people who made it into the popular groups. Popular groups is such a loose term, but you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like you thought that that was what you wanted to be, but it's not.
Yeah, really, you just wanted to find your people.
Yes.
And sometimes our people are not whatever popular is, and that is absolutely beautiful and perfect. I wouldn't want it any other way as an adult. I wish I would have not cared as a teenager. Life would have been a lot easier.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, what's next for you, Melissa? Your book comes out next week. So
Yeah.
what are we doing? What's the plan?
Oh my goodness. So right now I've been doing all of this, which is this totally different side of the publishing world, which is marketing and talking to people and sharing my book and all the things, which is a whole nother animal. And I actually am enjoying it because I'm connecting with so many people. I am doing a launch party on Tuesday with just, I've told my students and just, all the people that I love. And then I'm doing my first book signing ever in a Barnes and Noble, which is just, I mean, I told my family, I'm like, just come and pretend you don't know me, because it's so scary. It's all so exciting and scary. And then I really feel like my next project, I end my book with a note to parents, because I think parents just struggle so hard parenting teenagers. And I feel like I've learned so much about working with teenagers. I'm youth mental health certified. So I feel like I really have a book in me that can also hug parents and say they love you. They're just young, and it'll be okay. So I think that's my next book, because it's so hard being a parent of teenagers. I cannot tell you how many parents I've had cry and say, what can I do to connect with my kid? And I think it's simpler than parents think.
Wow. I'm so here for that. It's going to cut us off any second. So just thank you so much for being here today. We will be keeping our eyes out for that book too. And we're wishing you so much luck. Everyone go out and buy Beyond the Bell right now. And yeah, we can't wait to have you back for book 2.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.